Welcome to our new global media talk show. Today is May 25th, 2025. Today is observed as African Liberation Day or African Day. So, a huge celebration coming along in the diaspora and, of course, in Africa. So, we want to thank everybody who had made that day possible, African Liberation Day or African Day possible. Today, we're going to be discuss about Gambia news image post-dictatorship era. After Drammeh was deposed, how is our image as a country? I have my guest here, Kemo Fati. Kemo, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sawaneh. It is indeed a pleasure once again to be with you here. I remember our first virtual discussion was, late January, if I could remember.
Yes, around January. Yes.
Gambia's diplomatic relations with the West, and I am glad to be back on this platform again to discuss about, Gambia's image in Africa, post-dictatorship that's after Jambes area. And of course, I talk about some of the challenges and opportunities that lies ahead. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Kemo Fati. As you rightly said, I currently reside in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Attended Penn State University, graduated last year from the School of International Affairs, where I backed my master's in international affairs with concentrations in international public policy and U.S.-China-Africa relations. Prior to that, I was at the University of the Gambia, where I graduated from the Political Science Department with a bachelor's degree in Political Science. So I was involved, in different community activities, youth leadership in Gambia. And yeah, this is Kemo Fari.
Thank you. Thank you, Kemo, and thank you to have you back again. So we're gonna go right into it as we observe the African Day today or Africa Liberation Day. We want to look at post-Drammeh era, which is an era that echoes what is expected as Africans, how to live, a better life, be self-sufficient, be independent, stay away from foreign aids, try to be creative, and try to put our resources, using our resources to become the nation that we want to become. So we're gonna go right into it, and you can give us, the synopsis of what is it like post dictatorship era and what was expected, and if this expectation has been met, or if there were some disappointment, and what are these disappointments or challenges. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much once again, Mr. Sawaneh. I think very important also to understand the importance of this day, that is the Africa Liberation Day, and it's also quite very significant to also recognize the hard work, of our founding fathers. I mean, those who fought for our independence and for our democracy. We really can't forget about them, and it's also very important to remember some of the bold statements that were made by people like Sadauda Karabajawara. I could remember it was during this day, shortly before Gambia gained her independence in 1965. Sadauda also stood among African leaders and said, "The Gambia will never remain in the backwaters of Africa's advent if the entire continent is heading to independence except Gambia." That was a very strong and bold statement. 2 years after that, we also witnessed our independence in 1965, February 18th. So I think those memories still stay with us. Gambia from 1970 towards 1994, it was considered one of the democracies in Africa. You could only compare Gambia with, Botswana then. So those memories still stay with us, of course, because we really can't forget the great work that they have done for our country. moving forward, to what we should discuss today, Gambia's era, I think this was a moment to, that the Gambia experienced different kind of, political polarizations. Because one of the reasons why Zambia said they embarked on that coup to overthrow a democratic government was simply because there were a lot of, malpractices going on, abuse of power, you know, vis-a-vis, public official involving in corruption and stuff like that. But also the presence of foreign personnel, also to a very large extent, and of course holding all other factors constant, also kind of contributed to military coup in Gambia. So this, among other stuff, were among the reasons why Jammeh and his cabal embarked on that coup in July 1994. These were some of the justifications. I mean, they gave, even though coups are not justifiable, of course, because if you overthrow a constitutional government, it's very, very difficult to justify why you do that. You understand? Especially in a country where democratic procedures and principles are considered. So the government can only be changed through democratic process. But these were some of the reasons Jammeh and his people gave to Gambian people. So the Gambia accepted Jammeh as a legitimate leader, even though the West and the international community refused to recognize Gambia, the Gambia's government, and saw him as an illegitimate government because they overthrew a democratic government. So in 1996, Jammeh, tried to cajole Gambian people, and they were able to restore their confidence in him to be a civilian leader. He won the referendum and he became a civilian, president. Then many people tried to, reconnect their relationship with Gambia. So, but that notwithstanding, we've seen a lot of atrocities. You understand, of course, Gambia's era was indeed very, very synonymous to authoritarian regimes that we see in other countries or in all part of Africa. So currently, what we saw in 2016 to now was a Gambia that stood firm against those acts. We promised the world with a very famous slogan, "Never Again." The "Never Again" slogan, was one of the, famous slogans in Africa then, because Gambia, for the first time overthrew um, a dictatorship through, democratic means through elections. So we formed a coalition of 8 political parties with one independent, and Zambia was eventually, overthrown. So those are some of the synopsis of how we see the political transitions, in Gambia from 1970, 1994 to what we are witnessing today. And then looking at it from a vantage point and considering what we are witnessing today, I think the Gambia hasn't done much. There is still more to be needed to be done in our political, transition. Democracy is still, kind of backsliding, sort of. There are a lot of loopholes going on. Young people are, demonstrating. People are not satisfied with the living condition. Some of the things or past things that Jambe has left in our country still remain with us. And one of those shocking, stuff is the 1997 Constitution, of course, which we are still upholding. So one of the reasons why the coalition government said Jambe must go was because they want to make sure that they bring laws, rules, and regulations that are in line with the 21st century democratic principles. But unfortunately, our country is still very, very struggling with some of those things. Having those laws in power today, and it's a very big, disappointment and a very big international embarrassment for a country that said never again. So our new image in Africa still now is not satisfactory. From my own point of view, I think there are a lot of things that needed to be done. To we need to make sure that we have a very strong democratic consolidation, and that can be done without having the civil society, without having a very strong governance system, without having a government that will stand firmly against corruption, a government too that will listen to its citizens, because after all, power and the sovereignty of our country lies in the hands of the Gambian people. So they must therefore be listened to. So this is just a brief of what I think Gambia political history is.
Very good, very good. Thank you so much for speaking in depth about the history of Gambian politics and as well as our leadership. Now, the post Jammeh era, the post dictatorship era, we had expected some new things that would emerge to help us to be self-sufficient, to stay at least away from foreign aids, to be able to be creative and innovative, to have a new Gambia where everybody will have opportunities. And of course, you mentioned the constitution, where two terms limit will be observed and all of that. As far as now, what has been going on since 2016, have you seen any of those been met, or have you seen that we are still lacking behind, and which areas are we, and how is the world perceiving us as a nation, being that we set a record by voting out very strong man, a dictator in the West African region, yet still with the support of the whole world. What do you think the world is looking at us? How are other countries that were having high hope in our transition are looking at us now?
I think still now our political culture, in Gambia is still very, very highly polarized. And we have a very, very, fragile democracy right now, as we can see. Gambians by far currently are not united, honestly speaking. And then one of Barrow's messages then was that to unite a divided society. But right now, to our disappointment as electorate, this is not something that the government has achieved. And moving forward too, I think the Barrow government is completely very, very distracted. We have a lot of priorities, some of which are even considered misplaced priorities. You understand? The security sector reform was a very big expectations. You understand? Gambians really expect that there should be a very total overhaul of our security sector. And this was a very strong promise from the coalition government. And Barrow have said that over and over, but yet to no avail. And many people don't even understand when you talk about the security sector reform in Gambia. I think the Gambia security sector reform, was something that was kind of very, very ambitious with the government. The government was not really concentrating on one area of security sector reform. The Gambia security sector reform, if you look at their proposal or their plan of security sector reform, they included immigration, department, the police, the military, you know, so the border security. There are a lot of sectors that they want to reform. The state intelligence service, you call it, SIS whatsoever. So it's just so broad to an extent that they could not even focus on one area of security sector. And right now, Gambia, I think the most important area, right now should be our internal security. Even though the military is very, very, very important, but our internal security, that is the police, you understand? These are people that need to be educated very well. They need to be very, very professional in their conduct. And then you move forward to our external security, that is the defense system, that is the military. So doing all these things simultaneously together with the immigrations, is something that is quite very, very broad. And I think that's one of the reasons why we could not even achieve what we need to achieve in our security sector reform, because you have all this broader, perspective. You have all these broader areas that need to be embedded together and be reformed at once. That's going to be very, very difficult. At the same time, again, our engagement with the international community too comes with different priorities too. You have every country, every sector. The United Nations is probably interested, in our human rights issues. You understand? China here is interested in expanding its business and then having that, legitimate recognition, support from Gambia, the international community. The ICC is also interested in our human rights stuff, making sure that all those atrocities that happened in the past, are never repeated. Zambia's broader justice, ECOWAS is interested in secure. So you have different entry points in our political transition, and Gambia as a government is totally distracted on which way to follow or which path we're going to prioritize. And this is why we had a lot of misplaced priorities going on. Sometimes the president will tell you that he's only focused on infrastructural development, but that can also be done if people are living in a very bad condition, in a very poor condition. Poor healthcare system, living condition is totally skyrocketing. Gambia. So you have a lot of issues going on. Our democracy is really backsliding. People are protesting. Things that were happening during Jambe's era are still happening. People cannot even go out and voice out their concerns simply because the officials or the personnel will attack them, will confront them. So you have all those issues going on in the Gambia right now. It's really very, very frustrating, and it's really very, very difficult. And I think we've not impressed the international community much. And it's very important that, of course, we were able to return back to the Commonwealth. We were able to restore our membership with the ICC too. But if you look at this again, Gambia is kind of conflicted with most of these issues. You remember in October 2024 when a group of concerned Gambians stood against um, Dr. Tangara's appointment as the Secretary General of Commonwealth. The reason why they did at some point, even though I went against that, totally stood against that, that Gambians should not oppose his candidature for that position, because number one is going to increase our recognition and our opportunity to voice what matters to us as a country at international level. But if you look at it too, at from a different perspective, you'll understand that because he was judged based on his past involvement, in Jambia's region. So that kind of implicated him, even though he still remained the Minister of Foreign Affairs. So you see Gambians themselves, trying to argue within themselves because we are not okay with what's going on in the Gambia. And because that lack of, trust or that distrust that happened in the past and still existing in the new government, kind of, limit our opportunity again to even express ourselves even at international stage. But having a Gambian, becoming or be a General Secretary General of the Commonwealth is a very big opportunity for our country.
Right,
But
right.
we should ask ourselves, why do we oppose the appointment of a foreign minister to represent us at the international stage? So there are a lot of things going on. That is why I said some of the things Zambia has done still remain with us, and that's very disappointing and shocking. But we couldn't do much about that. We also understood very recently that Mr. Bartambedu was also seeking for ICC portfolio. Many Gambians too stood against that too because they believe that his reputation as a former minister or minister of justice wasn't really impressive, and as a result, many Gambians are protesting against that. So there are a lot of issues going on, and that's why I said we've not, to a very large extent, and holding all other factors constant, and impressed the international community and even the world with the change that we've made in 2016. I think that's not needed to be done.
Thank you, thank you. All right, you mentioned a couple of things, especially with the Minister of Foreign Affairs not supporting him because of his involvement and Batambidu, and also like I believe you mentioned the Constitution also. Since we transition, we were not able to pass that. Do you think the reason why some of these expectations are not being met was it because this government don't know how, or is it because it is based on self-interest or political interest and so forth?
I think I will, for the most part, I will consider it both, but I believe that is a deliberate action from the government. This is a government that really understands Gambian history very well. I mean, Barrow just celebrated his 60, so you cannot say that Barrow does not or did not understand what happened in the
But
past.
what I'm trying to say is that is it
So
because of the know-how, like the skill set of the people that he hired to conduct job function, or lack of leadership?
I
Because
think
if you look at this,
mhm.
the support was there. They went to Brussels. They got a lot of money that came were promised, and some a lot of a lot of higher high level investors were on the side looking to see how to assist this new government to succeed. Although we have to recognize that some of these donors or some of these aids come with drawbacks, that the West might like to for us to bend our norms or our ways of doing things. But there's a way that we can come to the table and be able to agree on something that is will be a mutual benefit for all. So do you think it was because of lack of know-how or the division among the coalition leaders and so forth? Or do you just think like there's no political will?
Um, I think to be honest, if I would be honest with you from my little understanding in Gambian political history, I think Barrow is the most luckiest, president in the history of Gambia to have experts around him and working with him. And even still now, that Sadauda's regime, you had very few Gambians who even had, bachelor's degree or graduated with a master's degree. Jambe's regime too, you had few. But Barrow's regime right now, we have more educated Gambian, highly, profile, Gambians who specialize on different areas, serving as ministers, permanent secretaries, and you have that, and you have almost 90% of government officials, in Gambia have at least a bachelor's degree. That is even a requirement if you want to, if you want to work in the ministries or certain government department, you must at least have a bachelor's degree. So I think he's lucky to have experts with him. But like you said, there is a very, very, very highly, lack of political will, and that is why I said in my fourth deliberation that it's a deliberate action that they're taking. They understand the problem. They know what people are facing. The leadership is just very weak. The leadership. If I say the leadership, that is the office of the president is really very, very weak and not doing much, honestly speaking. But we have experts that are working on the barrel. But the lack of political will come not only from the leadership, but of course from the government itself. It's really very, very self-centered at some point. It's a government that does not really care about corruption, a government that really doesn't care about, living conditions of people right now. So that is a lack of strong political will in moving forward with the agenda. But the plans and everything that they need to do, I think it's all on white paper and it's really very, very clear to Gambians people. The promise that they have made us, but why are they not serving? Why are they not delivering? So the right word to use is the lack of political will, and that's really the truth.
So what do you say about Barrow tapping into Jammeh's former folks who enabled Jammeh and were able to collide with Barrow and become part of his administration. What do you think about that? Is that a good sign, or was that just a political way, to survive through instead of caring about what actually Gambian people voted for? Because they
Yeah,
voted for a total revamp of the system and
yeah.
creating
Well,
a new Gambia.
if you ask many Gambians, I definitely conducted different, surveys, research, within the length and breadth of the Gambia. And if you ask many Gambians, this is one of the most shocking, revelations that they will tell you that they are very disappointed that the Barrow government is reuniting with the main, opposition. Of course, not the main, but of course a regime that has caused all those atrocities in Gambia, but we're now encouraging, those people to, coalesce with him and form a coalition or form a party to elect him in power. I think to some extent that is for Barrow's own political security. If you look at this, politicians can be very, very selfish sometimes. They don't just think about what is happening right now, but they just think about how to, sustain themselves politically to remain in power indefinitely. And I think from a political point of view and from Barrow's, own point of view, that was a very smart political strategy for him, given that, our political system was really very, very polarized and fragile. And you had your own political party that brought you through the coalition, disowning you and not just because of certain things that happened. So
Yeah.
you think the only political strategy or smart strategy that you could do is to try to connect yourself with other opposition parties, even though you had different agenda previously. So that is not okay
Even
because
though, those people enable the
yeah,
dictatorship that
yeah.
we fought.
That is why I'm saying it is not okay simply because the issue of accountability, will be conflicted. You understand? There are a lot of implications. You want to impress them politically, but you don't want to impress the citizens. So all what you care is your political position, but not what the citizens has gone through. And that is why some of our accountability measures right now in Gambia is very, very difficult to achieve. Government cannot implement certain rules and regulations, certain
Now,
accountability measures because the government itself is conflicted with some of the issues going on. They want to impress certain group of people politically because they want their own political term to be secured. When average Gambians are struggling, are still in shock. So many victims still now, are very, still very disappointed. You understand? The healing process is still very difficult for them because there is no incentive given to them because they don't have any prospect or confidence in the future of Gambian politics or even their own protection. So that is really very, very difficult to be out with.
and it's very unfair.
Yeah, very,
Another
very
thing is
unfair
like,
with our justice system.
we all saw what happened with the with the TRRC. The expectations were that those revelations would be they would be dealt with, and then the victims will be compensated. As of now, it looks like no action has been taken. If there has been action, it's very little.
Mhm.
What is your thought on that, and what is the delay, or why
Yeah,
is it kind of like
people,
are we where we are right now?
legal luminaries or people in the legal interest, they will say, justice delay is a justice denied. So one of the reasons why our political transition is not impressive to the world is simply because we still did not or does not deliver the justice that people are expecting from us. Remember, it is a country that's once said never again. So, but what has been happening is still the same thing that is happening. Victims are not giving any, even though they might not, you know, be expecting too much incentives, but at least the justice that they deserved should be definitely given to them. And you have the National Human Rights Commission. You have different, commission being launched in Gambia to probe into some of those allegations that were made against Gambia, some of those atrocities. We've seen Gambians being sentenced in international, states. Michael Corey here in the US, in Denver. You have Ousman, in Switzerland. So all those stuff going on still, but Gambia is not taking any tangible steps to show the world that this is what we are up to. Even the recent, hybrid commission that the Gambia established with the ECOWAS, since almost eight months now, we haven't heard anything about that. And all those things or commissions or court hearing whatsoever are geared towards ensuring that the Gambia is ready for the justice that they promised the world. But we are not delivering anything in practice. We are more or less focusing on how to gain or how to even remove Barrow in power. So some of those things, I think we should definitely have a very strong pressure groups. And when I say pressure groups, I think even the political parties have a role to play here. They need to be united to make sure that we fight against some of these things that are going on in our country right now, because we cannot afford Barrow to be, keeping doing the same thing. That is not the kind of Gambia we really want to see.
So,
So I think that in order to have that justice being delivered to our country, we need to have our different sectors coming together. Political parties, civil society organization have a very strong pressure groups to make sure that we, advocate for the justice that the Gambian people still deserve. Because if not, we've not done anything yet, and it's really very, very sad as a country.
what do you say to the notion that Barrow is intended to run again based on the mere fact that his party is young? He don't want his parties to die, and he has nobody to take the party to make the party survive, and that's the only reason. Because
That's it. That's it.
he said plainly that he has no intention to run, but he's his baby. He don't want it to die. What do you talk, what do you make of that? Those kind of
That is that is a very,
president sitting
very
down and making those kind of comments. I mean,
that's a very,
those
very
kind of
flimsy excuse. And then, as a very strong politician whatsoever, or as a president, I think those kind of words are not even expected of you as a state leader, because you are literally telling the people that you know you care about your political party than the
Than the
will of
nation.
Gambian people.
Yeah,
You understand? So
I was
that
disappointed
is
as
really
well.
very shocking. I found that to be very very funny.
Do
To
you
become
think
this
also? I
state
mean,
leader.
not
You know,
to not to not to no disrespect to the president, but do you think whoever gave him? I mean, perhaps he discussed the idea to his with his people, but his advisors. Do you think that they are smart enough? Because if you had to put it, there should be a way to put it, but not that way.
yeah,
My party is young. I mean, that kind of like, to me, is very immature. I mean, for somebody to talk like that.
absolutely, especially as a state leader. So yeah, all those are, if you look at it very well, they're just there to kind of secure their own political position or the opportunities that lies ahead, because they believe that the more Barrow is in power, the more opportunity they will also have in Gambian politics. Or but at some point, I think they are not making a very critical thinking of their own political future, because sooner or later Barrow will one day leave. Jambe was here promising Gambians that he will rule this country for 1 billion years, but after 22 years, where is he? So you think about aftermath to what is going to happen and how people will see you in the society. So I think Barrow is definitely disappointing Gambian very well, and those who that also surrounds him are not actually telling him the truth.
That's true.
And this
Yeah,
is why I believe they are very, very happy to still maintain the 1997 constitution. And the reason why people will say the Barrow draft, 2024 constitution is not going to be accepted in the Gambian parliament is simply because they design it, according to their own will, the way they want it to be.
right.
So Gambians really understand what's really going on. The democratic process or the constitutional review process was a very, very participatory process in Gambia. You understand? You had a lot of Gambians, voicing their concerns, contributing, sharing their views, people in the diaspora. So a lot of things, happened. It was very, very participatory. So changing that constitution to the will of, few people in the government was really very, very appalling, and Gambians should not really accept that, honestly speaking. Yeah, so I think Barrow should definitely respect Africa's constitutional order. That is, term limit globally is something that is recognized. It doesn't have to be specified in the constitution. Morally, it is good. So I think these are things that Barrow needs to definitely understand. But also, it depends on how united we are as Gambians, how united we are as opposition parties to remove Barrow. I think removing Barrow right now, should be even very, very easy than what we did in 2016. If political
Okay,
parties
that's where I
are
was gonna
united
come.
together, honestly speaking,
What do you
we
think?
definitely remove Barrow.
Yeah, that's what I went. That's the area that I wanted to and we're coming to the end of the program, but because we have another one coming. But that is the area that I want us to kind of like looked at. Do you think that Barrow could survive 2026 election if he chooses to run? Because I don't even know if he's gonna run, but the way things are looking at, he's the only candidate been announced. Do you think he
Yeah,
has a shot at 2026?
given the current, democratic political trends right now in the Gambia, if things really remain like that, we still remain having a fragile, political system whatsoever in our country, that is going to give, Barrow too much chances and opportunity to win the next election again. I mean,
So what has to happen? What has to
yeah,
happen?
he has strong grounds in the rural Gambia, and these people really participate a lot in Gambian politics. They participate a lot, and you need to understand these are people that majority of them are not even informed about current political issues going on in the Gambia.
Right,
What
because
they
they are
do
not even on social
understand
media
more
or
is
anything
what the president
like that.
says. You understand?
Yeah.
So they are kind of, in terms of information, they are kind of marginalized. They don't focus. They don't really understand actual issues going on in the Greater Banjul area, and this is where chunks of our Gambian debates, kind of take place. So I
And
think
they are
politicians
silent,
really have to
silent. They could even be the silent majority. We don't
majority
know.
too. That's what we saw in 2021 election too. People decided, they didn't talk. Some of them did not even attend campaigns, so they just went and voted massively. So I think it is high time for political parties to be united. Have a that united front and try to remove President Barrow in power from power. So there is lot need to be done still now.
So you don't believe that
Right
one
now,
party
things
can.
really
You don't
remain
believe
like
that.
this.
You don't believe that one party can do it alone.
It's really going to be very, very hard because if you have only one party, or if you have different or seven political parties or eight political parties again, or even six political parties, it's like you are giving chance to the incumbent, to lead, to win the election. This
So
is the history
you are
of
thinking
Africa.
that
So it's really very, very easy to predict without a very strong coalition among political parties. At this point right now, given what we are seeing currently in Gambian politics, it's going to be an easy ride for Barrow, to secure because it's a simple majority. Remember, government election is simple majority, so it's really very very easy for incumbent to win through a simple majority system without a very strong coalition against them.
right.
Yeah,
So you think even the mighty UDP would not be
mhm.
able to would not be able to do it alone. And then what would be your words for them, thinking that
I
they are
mean,
in the biggest opposition party?
The UDP, to be honest with you, has a very strong hold in Gambian politics, and I think that has been existing for over 25 years. They have loyals. They have a lot of party supporters, fan base, a very strong fan base too. People that will just go and vote for them. But right now, the political fragmentation of our country is really going to limit UDP's chances of winning. You have many small parties that are also like that are also kind of contesting. So having a one main opposition contesting against the incumbent and secure that huge number of votes, especially in a simple majority, that is what they are going to find difficult. But they have their power, they have their majority, and they have their very strong fan base everywhere in the country.
So
And
so
I
the
won't be
so this
surprised too, to be honest with you, a simple majority is sometimes a lot. I won't be surprised too if UDP has one or two political parties that join them, then it's going to be a very big battle for Barrow. Yeah, honestly
so
speaking. I think
your thought process is that UDC should reach out to other political parties and
that should be
trying
their
to
stand.
build a strong
That
coalition.
should be their political strategy. If they have two political parties that agree to join them, probably
And then
it's
how would they choose their leaders, to lead the party?
yeah. I think the UDP has been kind of silent on this. For far too long now, people have been expecting a lot from what the party leader or the secretary will say, or what they will, reveal to Gambian people in their Congress. I don't know when is the next Congress, but of course, you don't wait until when things are just 1 year or 9 months to decide. I think
Yeah.
Gambians really are definitely anticipating that probably this time there will be a political shift, there will be a leadership shift, in the United Democratic Party. Even me, in my own view, that is what I was expecting. But I won't be surprised too if they maintain the same leadership. So
Yeah.
that is something that is going to be very
So
difficult for me to predict for now.
to
Yeah.
happen. Yeah. So Kemo, thank you so much. I think we came to the end of the program. I have another guest that is waiting, but what will be your final words to our audience? We will have you again on some more in-depth political discussion in days to come, in weeks to come. So definitely you are an inspiration and keep up the good work. Definitely.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you,
What will be
Mr.
your final words to the audience? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Sawaneh. It's always a pleasure to share this kind of discussions with you guys. And then I think it is our civic responsibility to and national duty to kind of inform the masses because the social scientists will always say that if a society is not informed, then it cannot make any informed decisions. So
That's
I
right.
think it's really very, very important to talk about issues like this to enlighten ourselves and of course our audience about what are some of the things that needed to be done as a country. So we've seen political transitions in many different parts of Africa. Some people have a different experience. You see what happened in South Africa. We saw what happened in Angola, in Sierra Leone. So now Africa is kind of watching Gambia, where the Gambia also will deliver the same promise. Most of these countries that we've seen, transitions going on there, most of them did not make, they don't meet the expectation of the people. Even though the apartheid regime in South Africa was ended by Nelson Mandela whatsoever, but many victims too were disappointed in the aftermath of that event. Angola to Sierra Leone. So now with the new prospect, in Gambia, I think that Gambia should defy the oath. We make sure that we stick to the promises that we've made to the Gambian people. If one government cannot deliver that promise, it's high time we uproot that government and make sure that we deliver the promise that we made to the Gambian people and to the world. I think that responsibility lies not only on the shoulders of political parties, but of course civil society groups, pressure groups, and other concerned Gambians to unite together and make sure that we move our country forward politically, economically, and of course, security wise too is something that we need to also consider. Because right now, I always feel very disappointed when I see foreign national being present still now in the Gambian soil, trying to secure Gambian people both internally and externally. That is really very, very sad, and that really exposed, you know, how weak we are as a country in terms of our own security sector. So there are a lot of things that needed to be done in the Gambia, but hopes are very, very high still now. Young people are standing up, are gearing up in making sure that accountability is ensured. Government adhere to the principles, rules, and regulations in accordance with our Gambian constitution. So I think there are a lot of fights going on, and we also here in the diaspora, of course, we have a big role to play. One of those great roles is what you guys are currently doing, trying to inform the masses despite the distance, making sure that Gambian people understand that we still care and we still concerned about some of the struggles and challenges that they are going through. So I think all these are important issues that is currently going on. The political education in the Gambia is kind of very, very high now. Everybody is participating in political discourse. These are some of the things that really can move our country forward. So I really appreciate your time and I look forward to discussing with you more again. Thank you.
Thank you, Kemo, and have a wonderful weekend. And then continue to celebrate that African Day or African
Thank you.
Revolution Day
Thank you. Thank you. Bye
today and
bye.
tomorrow. Enjoy it. We catch up. Thank you. Okay. Um, we're gonna switch gears for the sake of our viewers. We have our second guest here, Sidiki Danso. Sidiki, you can put on your camera if you can hear me. Mr. Danso. Okay. Before Sidiki put on his camera, just want to give a brief. Um, okay, he's gone for a little bit. Let me just see if he can just join again. But before that, I just want to say a little bit about him and his journey as a chair of African Advisory Council. Uh, he has been doing an awesome job since he became a chair in about 2 years ago. So he has been leading Africans in the Bronx here and other boroughs, working with the borough president. So Sidiki is the current chair of African Advisory Council to the Bronx Borough President's Office. He's gonna explain his journey, how he became the chair, and also the challenges that are facing Africans in the Bronx and beyond. Sidiki, you are online. You can turn on your camera and you can introduce yourself. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Sidiki? Hello? Okay, let me just make sure that he can hear me. Unmute yourself, please. Yeah, the big man is not hearing me. Let me just give him a quick call.
How
Yeah,
is it?
so
Momodou? Are you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Do you see
Thank
me?
you. Okay, so I just introduced you to our audience. Now you can just
Okay.
go right ahead. Introduce yourself, and we're gonna be discussing about your journey becoming a chair for African Advisory Council to the Bronx Borough President's Office. and also the challenges that the Africans are facing in the Bronx here and beyond. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Momodou. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me here today. Um, to the listener, my name is Sidiki Danso. I'm the current chair of the African Ambassador Council of the Bronx Person Office. And I'm excited to be here, Momodou. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, can you walk us through your journey to become the chair of African Advisory Council, and also can you highlight on some of the challenges Africans are facing in the Bronx and beyond?
I mean, first of all, I have been involved with the African Advisory Council since 2011 up to today's date. So when I first joined the African Advisory Council, one of the biggest challenges that we had at the time were the Sunday hurricane. Mama, I don't know if you remember that took place.
Yeah, I
I
remember
think it
that.
was in 2011, 2012. And when I got involved, that's what I met a lot of African leaders because we wanted to have our African representations within the community when it comes to helping people that was victimized by by the rain, by the water, and all of those things. So when the Brooklyn or in Staten Island, and that's where my journey started as a member of the African Ambassador Council, and I served in a couple of positions, the African Ambassador Council, then later understand what it means to be an Africans and fighting on behalf of the African people, especially here in New York City. So my journey started from the beginning by me being a chair. Now I didn't just jump to become a chair. I understood the metrics uh, of becoming a chair and of being a leader. So that's what I started from. And another question that you said were to walk you through some of the challenges that Africans are facing in New York City. Am I right?
Yes, and beyond, New York and beyond. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so let me start with community organization. You know, one thing that I have observed is that Africans, when we are mad or when something goes wrong, if we are in certain organization, we want to revenge. And we believe that in order to revenge, we'll have to create another non-for-profit organization to tackle just the one mistake that will have with other people. So at the end of the day, Africans here in the diaspora has created like over a thousand non-for-profit organization. So due to the fact that we all have similar agenda, we have no way to become successful easily because if we all are applying for the same grain and they see the same African organization, they see the same organization applying for grant for the same thing, doing the same thing over and over, sometimes we don't get a grant. Or sometimes the wrong organization might probably get a grant and they will not do what needed to be done in the African community. So I have seen that as an issue in the African community. And I believe that if we as Africans, both in the diaspora and beyond, can come together to be able to get each other a listening ear and to work with various talent that we have to to tackle issues in the community. Trust me, we will be successful everywhere that we live, everywhere that we go.
Right.
So that's something I have observed. Every African that you see, we all got NGO, we all got non-for-profit organization. And when you
Do you
ask,
think do you think that it's a leadership issue? Everyone want to become leader, or everyone want to be seen, or everyone want to own something?
no, that is not because of leadership issue. That is because of ego. That is an
Okay,
ego
ego.
issue.
Okay.
Yeah. It's an ego issue because when somebody differ with you, you want to prove to that person because the person have an organization, you can do the same thing or better than the person. So you were going to create something and bring in a commodity that would do almost similar thing to the organization that you were in before. So
So
we
so
are
so,
very
so how
egoistic.
how do we go about addressing this issue and resolving it?
is by coming together. And this is why the African Advisory Council, the AACAC, has a mother organization that actually supersedes all the organizations, African organization here in the Bronx and beyond. This is where we come together and make our decisions. Like take for instance, like me, my background is in finance, and we got other people, Charles Cooper, the former chair of the African Advisory Council, Mr. Cooper. He's a lawyer. Lakando Famo, the former chair, Famo is public administrations. He has a long-term experience in those fields. Imagine when you, Mamadou, that is here, you got a PhD, into organization. I mean, organizing organizations and everything. Imagine when we all come together to open one organization to have a one goal. You know what's going to happen to the community? Do you think we'll not be successful? Do you think we'll not execute what we want to execute in our life of our organization? Why should we all go a different way to open different organization to serve who? The same community? So you look at the probability of we becoming successful. And Africans are one of the most educated people in the diaspora or around the world.
Right.
We are one of the most educated people. But why can't we organize? Why we all want to show that we can do something better than one another? Why are we taking our ego to?
So where do you think this originated from? Because looking at even back home, it looks like the same thing happening. Why do you think we have this problem? If
Uh,
you can tell.
I mean, just from looking at the way in which things go, that have to go beyond, that happened back in the days when it come to the colonizers when they went back to Africa and they make some people better than other people, meaning that when you speak certain
Divide and
language and when
conquer.
you live, right, they divide and they conquer us. And due to the fact that other people that see themselves closer to the colonizer, they feel that they were better than other people.
Because
So
we've seen some
those,
if you look at Africa, some French speaking countries and English Anglophone speaking countries, then they don't get along, and they one will see better, one will see that they're better than the other one. So it's still the same division that I've seen observed over the years.
I mean, of course, forget about English and even francophone countries. Look at Congo. Congo has been divided into two different countries. That was one country. You understand what I'm saying? That's just the
Yes.
same country. That's just one country has been divided into two because of misunderstanding. So we shouldn't even go beyond that. Like it happened right in our face in various African countries and various tribes in other countries doesn't like one another. And at the end of the day, and that's where it grows, to what we find ourselves in.
So we can blame the colonial our colonial masters, probably implementing this or embedded this in our system and still grow when we go out of the continent.
I don't blame them anymore because we are not under that jurisdiction anymore. We are educated. We know our right from wrong. We should be
Mhm.
able to make the decision now as to what can we do to better up the community. If we think that we are being colonized back then, we are educated enough. We got resources right now that we can go and change the mindset of our people. You understand what I'm saying? We are in the position to do that. Colonizers have did what they have to do. Now we become victims of that. But yet we are in the position to change those things. So I believe that we need to work harder and listen to one another and sit down and strategically find a strategy how we can overcome those things.
Oh, okay. So you said that overcoming them is by forming one entity and bringing all the talents together, like what African Advisory Council is trying to do, different talents, so that we don't need to form different groups, and then we can be strong as a force. Is that what you are saying?
No, no, absolutely. And you should also understand that when you're opening non-for-profit organizations, it's like a trees. When you plant a trees, when it grows, it has different branches, and those branches has different leaves, and those branches can grow food and all of those things. So when you have a mother organization, anything that you specialize in, we can create a sub branch of that mother organization that you can super here, but we got one person that we listen to. So we listen to. My mom told me one time we were having a conversation. She said, any organizations, any group of people that you see and they don't have a leader, no matter how organized they are, don't join it. Do not join any group that do
And
not have a leader.
it's a saying that in my local language, "Ani komkunda kebaya bijele." That means even in the, because I mean, are you speak Mandinka, right?
Yeah, but I don't understand the ambient Maninge.
You speak you speak Liberian Mandinka, yes. So that
Yeah.
means even in the baboons, even in the baboons, they are in their community, there is an eldership there. So where all the baboons, all the other baboons will listen to. So I think this is what we lead in our African community. We don't value our leaders, and everyone want to become leader, and everyone because of ego. So yeah, but I agree with you. Yeah, you need to find entities that will bring people together so we can collectively we can be successful. Now, is there any other challenges besides that we are facing within the Bronx or beyond the African
Uh,
communities? Yeah.
I mean, the challenges that I actually see right now in the African community, we don't support one another. And I believe that the reason we do not support each other is because, going back to my previous conversation, my previous statement, because we
Mhm.
are create so many organizations to the extent, even if I want to do something, somebody has already done it in the past, and other people devalue what I'm about to do because they attended one a month ago. So when it comes to that, we don't value and we don't support one another. And due to the fact that we live in a country that love statistics in the sense that they love data, they love how many people into these things, how many people do you have when you organize an event and all of those. And sometimes the decision that they make for us being based on that. Mamadou, take into consideration, you and myself live in the Bronx. We live in New York. The Bronx has the highest number of Africans in the United States. The Bronx has the highest number of African in the United States. There has been no elected officials from the Bronx to represent
Yes,
the African community.
yet
Yet, I will say yet, I agree. I
might be
will say
later, right?
yet.
If we get our
It,
acts together.
when we got things
Yeah.
together. Exactly my point. We live in a place where we are, becoming majority, and yet we can't even unite to appoint one person to be our representative. And again, that go back to the same thing you're saying. Nobody know us better than ourselves. People will come to us, to listen to us, will give them idea, but when it comes to implementing the idea, they don't know us better than ourselves. So nobody can
Do you,
represent us better than ourselves.
do you think this has also to do with the busy schedule, the way the country, the way the system are here? You have to pay your bills, stress, family back home, asking you for money, like lack of insecurity. Do you think all of this has anything, creating this avenue of challenges that we're talking about?
Personally, I would not. It might be, but I don't think so. I mean, no matter what kind of work or what do you do, I mean, some of those things that we're discussing right now do not take the whole day. Probably take an hour or less. You know what I'm saying? You can,
Because anytime
definitely.
you ask somebody, they say, "I don't have time." I mean, like even we have events. How many people show up? If it is like never had been an African event where the expectations are met. Never
Yeah,
in
but
my sense of being in this country.
but that is the problem. That's why we value certain thing over certain thing, and we become victimized to those things. Look at gun. I would say, look at gun violence in the African community. You know why some of those things are actually increasing? Because there is no father or mother presence in the life of those kids. You understand what I'm saying? If we value our job than raising our own children, if we value things that shouldn't be valued to us, than raising our own children, like making decisions for our community, where our serfs and our kids and our brothers and sisters are going to live and grow, and we value that more than that. I mean, Mamadou, We live in this
Yeah.
country. People has lived in this country over 40, 50 years. They do not even have $1,000 in their account. They don't. They're
Wow.
looking for people to credit from the whole day. Then when it comes to fixing your community, then you want to prioritize job over that? And any
Yeah.
job that will
I
make me
mean,
to not make
I
it of my
noticed.
family,
I
I don't want
noticed.
that job.
Yeah, I noticed that also. Africans, we also follow one dynamic. Like when one person is doing something, we all go and do that instead of exploiting different avenues. Instead of thinking outside the box, like instead of like stay away from 9 to 5. When we come here, I see Sidiki doing 9 to 5. That's what I would do instead of like trying to create my own business, trying to take risk, on other avenues, so that I don't have to go through that trend. So I think another challenges that we have is that we are cuddled in one area and then trying to do the same, repeat the same thing, not making an impact. So clearly, if you look at beside our disunity, clearly if you look at our fear of, or our not knowing know-how, the know-how, not having the know-how to become innovative in doing other things, like investing in education. We tend to be doing one thing and competing back home, building houses, and so forth. So I think that also become our issue, because if you can just take, like you said, invest your time and money in certain things, even in certain, in United States here, in certain skills, you could become a master of that and make a good money rather than working 9 to 5. So I think that is another areas that I don't know, what is your thought on that.
No, I agree, but again, you got to take into considerations that one of the I believe that one of the biggest mistake that we do, uh we do not uh we do not give tutorial to people that just coming in the country. And I understand this because if somebody live in Africa today and come to me, Siddiqui, living in New York, and that person definitely look up to me. So whatsoever job that I'm doing, more likely I will find space for that person to work within that job. And for some of us that been here so long, I think our issue is that people that just coming in the country, we don't want it to do well better than us because we've been here before them. We want to place it in the positions where they will either be depending on us or they will depend on our ideas how they can get successful. But if you take your time and show that person the right way, what you could do, hey, I don't want you to work. In order for you to be successful in this country, I will pay the bill. You can sleep in the living room, you can sleep in the other room that I have. Just go to school for at least 2 years. You take care of that person. Then for the following year, after the 2 years, when that person graduates and get a good job, you don't need to support that person anymore. That person will live independently and move on with their life. But if you decide for that person to be subjective to you, that person will live for you for 10 years and they will be doing probably worse than what you're doing. So what I have observed is that we have not given a real, we have not been honest to ourselves. We have not been honest to our brothers and sisters that just leaving the continent to come and meet us here. So we all make things seem like you can't do. I know somebody that came in this country and somebody put fear in him that he can't even pay your own check in his account. And when they person work, they get a check, they will take the person check and eat all the person money. Until one time somebody has referred the person to me. When I understood that, I had him make I spoke to him to move to New York. When he moved to New York and we found a job for him. And now he's happy to live with his family. So imagine people like that, you know, toot on you, other people how to live in the United States.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
definitely.
saying? So I
Yes.
believe that is a tough situation, and we that already here, we got a lot of work to do, and we got to be honest to ourselves, and we got to be honest to the young generation that actually coming. They will listen to us, they see us as the leaders, and they're going to follow us. So let's just be honest with ourselves. If you come in this country and spend 20 years, you didn't go to school or you didn't do what you have to do, when the other person come in your young age, sit them away, help them out. Give them 2 years, let it grow and become who they want to be. Sometimes they will even be a help to you as well.
That's
So
right.
that's just my point.
Yeah. So what do you think your your under your leadership African Advisory Council is doing towards educating people in terms of getting to the right pathway, immigration issues as well, job issues, youth staying away from the streets and becoming becoming busy in other errands, in like sporting events and so forth, and also like the gun violences, the food insecurity, and so many things in African community here in the Bronx and beyond. Under your leadership, what do you think? What is the plans that you have with your committee, which I am part of as well?
Right. By the
But I
way,
will
he
let
didn't
you. You are the boss. I will let you talk about that.
By the
Really.
way, he didn't introduce himself. Momodou is a liaison for the African Advisory Council, so I want all the listeners to hear that.
Yes. Thank you.
So he's a great leader, and we look up to you, Momodou. You have been in this community. You have done a lot of work in this community. We're super proud of you. We all look up to you and see what you're doing, creating a platform where we can listen to problems and to find solution for those problems. So you are here in our community, and I want your listener to know that we are super proud of you. We are proud to have you, people like you, in our community. So I want to say thank you for what you're doing. Before I answer the question, we are
Yes.
we
Thank
are
you.
super proud of you, my brother. You know,
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, no problem.
Yes.
So,
Thank you.
no problem. So back to the conversations, and when you said that what my administrations are doing
Yeah.
to minimize crimes in the African community and all of those things. Um, I know for a fact that younger generations are involved into sport, and when you realize that uh, last month we have the African Advisory Nation Cup of Tournament soccer Nation
Which
Cup of
Gambia
Tournament.
won? You have to recognize that.
Which,
Which
no, I will recognize that. So I must give that
I'm a
kudos to
proud
Gambia.
Gambian, so definitely.
Yeah. So I would definitely give that recognition to Gambia. But like, people came from everywhere around New York and just watch that game and see people, African kids participating into that tournament. So it was a joy for me to see, that tournament going on. But Gambia has won that trophy in a row, the fourth different time. There was a fourth one, and that was actually great. And I celebrate with Gambia. And Gambia youth are one of the most committed youth I have ever seen, and they are people like other kids can look up to say if Gambia can do this, we can do it. And they have been very very consistent in the community. So their coach, Ousman and Musa, these another committed young people. They have worked tirelessly to pull their young folks in the position that they are. So we are very super proud. And what am I trying to do now when it comes to youth? Because I realize that a lot of young people are involved into playing basketball. So I'm thinking on during the summer to have a basketball tournament for our young brothers and our young brothers to probably our young brothers and sisters to participate into that to see how much we can bring young people together. And I make myself available, creating mentorship programs where young people, when they have any sort of confusion, they can reach out to the African Advisory Council EBO that will be able to help them with solutions when it comes to a lot of different stuff. And by me being on this platform, I also want to say that regardless of what issue that you're facing in New York City and you need help about it, reach out to us, reach out to Mamadou. Reach out. If we can't do it, we'll find a way for you to do it. We are here to serve the African community. We're not just here by ourselves. So there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of things that we're thinking of doing to help our young people. But if you have something that is going on, you want to collaborate with us, please let us know. We'll definitely be there to do so. So, Mamadou, when I see that, I would like to stop there and probably proceed later because they come faster. So, so lot of great thing that we can do.
Very good, very good. So the I don't know if you talked about the gun violence. That is a really
No,
causing a lot of problems in our community,
point.
and also like the food insecurity, the immigration, the asylum seekers and the immigration stuff. If you can just touch
So,
about all those few things before we wrap up, yeah.
let me talk about gun violence a little bit. A couple of weeks ago, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was invited by the mayor, and we were able to go to Long Island. And when we got there, it was 3,573 guns that were taken away from the street. And they were actually destroying this gun, and they wanted us as a community leader to be there to see what has been going on. And I applaud the mayor for that. But, when you look at those guns, came from our community, our brothers and sisters has been victimized of all of those things. Just yesterday, somebody sent me a video on my Instagram telling me like young African kids was fighting at the bus stop and trying to beat up somebody because the person is not this one, then not that, blah blah blah. And we have to hold ourselves responsible. So what I did last night, I reached out to various imams that we have to have a workshop for parents because anything that is happening, parents must be involved. And that also go back to our previous conversations to say if you prioritize job over raising your own kids, something it lead to something that you don't want it to be. And I believe that once we have tutorial classes for parents to know how to double down those things, we can be able to reach out to the kids. And we are available. Like anything that we can do to make those kids what we want them to be in the future, we are very much available to do that. The district attorney of the Bronx, uh, Mrs. Clark, she told us the last time when we had an event with her that she had make herself available. Like anything that we think that she has to do for us to better our community for our young people, she's willing to do it. We had a community event. We invite everybody. Trust me, up to where I'm sitting, I've not received a one notice from any parents, for anybody in the community to say there is a challenges. We want this and this for the district attorney to help us to do this one. It's not that. It's not that. But we're all looking for money and trying to better something that we can never get. So it's a
Okay.
challenge in our community, and I actually want us to work and keep working to find solution for this. But we ourselves are finding it challenging to actually get to the bottom because we can't do it without the help of the parents. We got to
Yeah.
work together. So if we don't have those resources, it's gonna be a little bit difficult for us. But we're working hard, tirelessly, and with the resources that we have to reach out to as many young people as we can reach out to. And this is why we create a mentorship program where they can reach out to us, we can reach out to them to better anything that they want.
Very good,
So
very
the next one where was food security. You wanted me
yes.
to highlight on food
Yeah.
security.
We're having a lot of food insecurity in the Bronx, and then that has, you know, be caused by COVID. COVID has something to do with that, and high rise in food cost of food. So, is there any areas that you think the AEC would be able to, maybe highlight or assist on, or maybe create a pathway for people to actually be helped?
Oh, it's great that you even asking this question. Uh, uh, One of the most important thing, like every individual in the world, regardless of your color or the content of your characters or all of those things, is what you put in your body. And basically,
Exactly.
basically, we all go and just put something in our body that will probably destroy our health and all of those things, and not even realizing that, we're putting the wrong food into our system.
Right.
And like last say, people like you have opened a platform for us where we can come and talk about food security. And I know I have joined your platform one or two to three times where you got expert to come and speak on those things. Well, me being me, I think what we have to do is that since you already doing it, I'd rather give you all of the help that you need so we can grow the aspect of that under your jurisdiction, saying it's already under you, instead of me creating something separate that will make everybody to go separate way without getting the main information. So my goal here is that working together as a team, working together as a community leader, find the resources, regardless of we have the resources, and work alongside with that person to grow that platform. But I believe and I know I'm not an expert when it comes to food security, but I know that food is very essential in our community. I think we should work and watch what we eat and what we do, what we put in our system. Very important. So I will
Very
work
good.
alongside with you on that. Right.
Okay. Thank you for that support. And then by the way, AAC African Advisory Council also is a for is an area where information sharing happens. Like especially during our meetings, people will come from all walks of life with different kind of resources that they will talk about or share with flyers and so forth, that assist the community. So if you are around New York City, in the Bronx, look out for our meeting days. It's usually first Thursday of the month. And then would you do you have any link that or website that they can follow?
The African Advisory Council. Once you pull the African Advisory Council AA parenthesis open AAC closest, you will definitely see all of our information. And when you go to Facebook, just put the African Advisory Council of the Bumper Person Office. You will see all of our information on every social media. Follow us, send on a message, and we'll definitely be there to listen to all of the qualms and everything that's actually happening.
Right. Very good, very good.
All right.
Finally, the final question I will ask you is that what are the plans to reach out to other communities and bring this unity, because we are fragmented, we are all over the place now. Advisory Council could be a hub where you reach your arm to every community organizations and see how you can disseminate information to them about what is going on in the borough president's office, in the mayor's office, in the governor's office, so that they can have timely manner to react or take advantage of the opportunities. How are you communicating with the various organizations to inform and to be informed?
So we have the platform on WhatsApp where we have leaders of different organizations, and every time there's any information, both other organization and us, we share those information and stuff like that. But strategically, what we understand is that when we have our Igbo meeting, a lot of young people parents are being formed in the religious side, like worship side, which is either in the masjid or in churches. So for instance, when you go to churches on Sunday, you find a lot of young people there with their parents. So we decided to recognize people in various churches and various masjid, and with citation from the bar person office, people that are actually doing well. And when we're giving those citations to those people, we don't give it to them as an individual. Instead of we sit down, they come to us, we walk to them, we go to the worship site, and in the presence of all of those people, we call them for their great job they have been doing, and we handle them the citation. In doing so, we'll pass around and pass a piece of sheet and give pen. Anybody that want to join the organization, please put your information, and we'll make sure that we give you a call and all of those things. Just carry on those kind of awareness to bring as many people as we can bring on board and share as many information as we can share and once it's being received. So that's something that we all agree to, including you, that we should be able to reach out to people like that. And we'll do that and also reach out to people through our organization as well.
Thank you so much, Sidiki. You're doing an awesome job. Like I said, I'm proud of you. With
Thank you.
the entire AAC team, you just successfully conducted Bronx, I mean, like African tournament, and then also a big parade, Bronx Week parade. So the evidence are there, and I'm proud to be part of your team, even though that was not the reason
Thank
why
you.
I got I got in, but I came to help on the election, and now I couldn't escape the group. But I thank you so much for coming to our new global media, which is to sensitize the whole entire world about what is going on, not only within the Gambia, but African community and the world at large. So we hope to have you again on other topics of interest, public interest, and of course, you can give your final words.
First of all, thank you. Mamadou, my final word will start with you. Um, Recently, I surprised you to the Gambia and Senegal award programs, and when I got there, you have just won an award, which actually made me to feel more proud than any other time. And what did you win award again? What was it?
Humanitarian award.
Humanitarian award, being given to somebody that we see every day, that we talk to every day, and somebody that we all look up to. Mamadou, I just want to say that we super proud of you for your representation. And I know that when I call you to tell you congratulations, you said, no, the award do not belong to me. It belongs to the community because the community placed me in this position. I hope and I wish we can have so many leaders that think like you, that do things like the way you do it. Just by those words actually motivate me personally to do more and keep doing more. So I want to say on your platform that we are proud of you, Mamadou, for what you have done and what you continue to do. That award meant to every one of us. I'm super excited to see you winning such a award in our community. So thank you for that. So I also want to say to the entire community, you're like unite more. Don't forget about gossip behind one another. It will not help or go anywhere. If you have any issue with anybody, try to engage them. And once you engage somebody that you got a problem with, trust me, they will have everlasting respect for you. But once you keep it to yourself and keep talking behind that person, you become victimized. So there was an analogy that I got from Mike Tyson, the boxer. I said like, when you cut somebody off, meaning that you should worship that person because once you cut somebody off, you become subjective to that person because human beings should not change you. You should be able to change yourself, or God should be the one to change you. But once you cut somebody off, meaning that the person changed you, so you rather worship that person than cutting the person off. So we should not cut ourselves off from anybody. We are one people. We are Africans. If somebody does wrong, you know, let's talk about it face to face. And it actually make us to God respect, a mutual respect for one another. Don't allow nobody to make you feel otherwise about yourself. We are all great in our own way. We are all smart in our own way. That come out to help one another and make our continent the best continent that we ever want to see. Not just our continent, us here in the diaspora to become the best versions of ourselves. And the only way we can do that, we are like unite, support one another, and become the best version of ourselves. Thank you, Mamadou.
Thank you so much, Sidiki. And again, that award, humanitarian award, also belongs to everybody in this platform. My co-host
Thank
Sam
you.
Ceesay, Famara, Drammeh, Ousman, Camara, all of them, and all the guests that comes here. Again, it's the continuous work of community service and empowering people through media, talk shows like this. So the entire new global media team on the ground, Modu Ture, Osman Bie, Sekou Jao. If you guys are all watching, they are working behind the scene to make sure that this media is not only a talk show media, but it's a news outlet media that features the news going around the world. So they're working 24/7. You might not see them on this platform, but they are the one behind the scene in the Gambia. holding it tight to make sure that our websites and these platforms exist. So I want to extend my thanks to all of them. The humanitarian award is not only, you know, focusing on my work with GYO as a founder, but also my extensive work within the community, African Day Parade, African Advisory Council, different African communities, Community Board 7, where I serve as committees in health and human services and housing, all of those things that I touched during this long time of community service. So it belongs to everybody. When you say humanitarian award, means somebody who cares for the people. And the last person to won it was Yusundur. So I'm very grateful to SGWA, that is the Senegambia West African, who organized this award for their recognition. I know they had tough time deciding who to give this to, but having me to be a recipient was a surprise.
Yeah, that's great.
Definitely was a surprise. I didn't, and I was out of words. But again, somebody has to do it. So, and it has to be given to somebody. But I'm thankful to the Almighty Allah and my family
That's good.
for having to receive that. And thank you for being there to support. Last
Everybody get a shout out to Momodou, man. Congratulations, my brother. We are
Thank you,
super proud of you, man.
thank
We
you,
are.
thank you,
All right.
thank you, thank you. So thank you so much, and happy African Day and African Liberation Day. Thank you.
Yeah, but we're going to raise the flag up. So if you want to do that, we're going
Yeah, okay, no
downtown to
problem.
raise the flag
Yeah, okay, at 3 o'clock, right?
at 3:30.
Three
Yes.
thirty. Okay, okay, no problem.
Thank you, Momodou. We appreciate you. Thank you again
Thank
for
you,
the
thank you.
platform.
Take care.
Thank you
All
for
right.
having me.
Okay, thank you.